Murder most foul. To kill is an instinct. Most murderers plan to capture and kill. Each room fitted differently to kill in a different style. Check out the infamous doors of the Murder Hotel at Chicago. Fasten your seatbelts and remember, this part is not for those with a weak heart, because this discusses murder at its worst.
When we think of luxury hotels, we think of a home away from home with comfortable beds and sheets, and if you're lucky, beautiful views, little baskets of exotic fruits, assortments of yummy biscuits, bars of soap, and chocolates on pillows aside, hotels should be a safe haven away from the troubles of the rest of the world. So, what happens when they aren't? Some beautiful and inviting doors have something mysterious lurking behind them. Not all of them lead into the would-be luxury halls as expected. The stories are unbelievable and spooky, but what's scarier? The fact that the mysteries behind them are still unsolved? Well, some age-old mysteries could be solved in the next decade. These ones are gone cold long ago and are still as mysterious as ever. Check out the murder castle and its enigmatic doors.
If you were staying at the World's Fair Hotel, most commonly known as H.H. Holmes Hotel, you might run up a flight of stairs and find that it led to nowhere. Check in and never check out. You'd open doors and see only solid brick. You'd enter a bedroom and suddenly smell gas seeping in. You'd try to run only to realize you were locked in. Even if you could open the door, you probably couldn't find your way out of the house. And before long, you meet your gruesome end. Or at least that's how the story of H.H. Holmes' house goes. As one of America's first known serial killers, H.H. Holmes became infamous not only for his crimes, but also for his legendary murder hotel in Chicago. Sometimes called Murder Castle or a murder mansion, this mysterious building was initially believed to be a normal hotel and just a way for Holmes to make money during the 1893 Chicago World Fair. But a police investigation later revealed something far more sinister. While it remains unknown how many people Holmes murdered in his house of horrors, he often boasted of killing 27 people. However, some estimates claim the actual number may be as low as 9 or as high as 200. In recent years, some historians have cast doubts on whether the H.H. Holmes house was really a murder castle at all. While there is no doubt that Holmes was a serial killer, experts have suggested that some of the most sordid details of his home, like the homemade gas chambers and trapdoors, may have been more products of yellow journalism. But at the end of the day, only the man himself ever knew all of the secrets of the H.H. Holmes Hotel and how many people died within its walls. H.H. Holmes first came to Chicago in 1886, leaving behind more than one previous persona in his life. Born as Herman Webster Mudgett, previous scandals gave him good reason to change his names. Like in college, when he worked in the anatomy laboratory and mutilated cadavers to defraud life insurance companies, or when he was the last person to have been seen with a missing little boy in New York, or when he worked as a pharmacist in Philadelphia and a customer died after taking his pills. After all these incidents, Majid simply skipped town and eventually changed his name to Henry Howard Holmes. Soon after his arrival at the Windy City, Holmes got a job in a drugstore on the 63rd Street, using his knowledge of medicine and his charming personality to secure the position. Holmes' fashionable, bright, and likable personality, in fact, he was so likable that at one point of his life he was married to 3 unknowing women at the same time. In 1887, he bought an empty lot across the street from the store where he worked and began construction on a 3-storied building, which he said would be used for apartments and shops. The structure was ugly and large, containing more than 100 rooms and stretching for an entire block. But Chicago was a city on the rise, and new construction was going up all over this part of the American Midwest. After all, Chicago was perfectly situated on the shores of Lake Michigan as a central hub for the expansive railroad networks that crisscrossed the nation, all extending like the spokes in a wheel from the city. Little did residents know that a house of horrors was about to emerge in that very same place. The H.H. Holmes Hotel, the murder castle of Chicago. For his mansion, H.H. Holmes planned for the first floor to contain an entire block or storefronts that would be able to rent out to the flood of new businesses opening up in the city. The 3rd floor would contain apartments for new residents looking to make it big in the Windy City. Eerily, some of those unsuspecting residents may have eventually become Holmes' victims. Those victims got to see the 2nd floor, one that was allegedly full of asphyxiation chambers, mazes, and hidden stairs. And the especially unlucky victims made it down to the basement, which hid the elaborate horrors for which the H.H. Holmes house is now famous. Throughout the building's construction, Holmes apparently switched builders and architects so frequently so that no one involved was able to realize the gruesome end goal of all the odd parts. The house was completed in 1892, and by 1894, the police would be exploring its winding passages while Holmes sat behind bars. At first, authorities were confused by what they found. There were hinged walls and false partitions. Some rooms had 5 doors, others had none. Secret, airless chambers were found underneath the floorboards, and iron, plate-lined walls appeared to stifle all sound. As for Holmes' own apartment, it had a trapdoor in the bathroom, which opened to reveal a staircase that led into a windowless cubicle. In the cubicle, there was allegedly a large chute that tunneled through the basement. One notable room was lined with gas fixtures. Here, Holmes would apparently seal his victims in, flip a switch in an adjacent room, and wait for the horror to unfold. Another chute was found nearby. All of the doors and some of the steps were connected to an intricate alarm system. Whenever someone stepped into the hall or headed downstairs, a buzzer sounded in Holmes' bedroom. It should be noted that these descriptions have been met with some skepticism by historians, especially in recent years, and so it's worth keeping in mind that at least some of the designs may have been exaggerated or even invented by the newspapers of the era. Uncovering the H.H. Holmes murder hotel. The first clue about the bizarre floor plan's true purpose came to the cops in a pile of bones. Most of the bones were from animals, but some of them were human. They were so small that they almost certainly belonged to a child, one who had no more than 6 or 7 years. And when authorities descended into the cellar, the scope of the building's hidden horrors was finally revealed. Besides a blood-soaked operating table, they found a woman's clothes. Another surgical surface was ready and nearby, along with the crematory, an array of medical tools, a bizarre torture device, and shelves of disintegrating acids. Holmes' fascination with dead bodies had apparently lasted long past college, as had his surgical skills. After dropping his victims down through the chutes, he reportedly dissected them, cleaned them, and then sold the organs or skeletons to medical institutions or on the black market. Though the mansions didn't look inviting in the least, it is unlikely that any of the victims were dragged into the depths. They entered on their own volition, likely enchanted by the owner's flattery and apparent influence. In some places, they might have been his employees. During his 2 short years in the castle, Holmes hired more than 150 women to work as his stenographers. A few of them were known to be his mistresses as well. Holmes sometimes photographed his favorites. They were young, beautiful, and trusting of the gentlemen in the big, unfamiliar city. As a city on the rise that was well connected thanks to its railway hub, Chicago undoubtedly had a fresh flow of people coming in and out of Holmes' mansion. But despite the well-connected women who were missing under his employment, suspicions of murder weren't what led to Holmes' capture. People come and go all the time in a big city, often without notice. And before the age of advanced technology, it was especially hard to trace them. So the disappearance of the young women working under Holmes could have always been excused as them simply moving back or heading back home. Ultimately, theft and poorly planned financial schemes were what led to the arrest of Holmes in Boston on November 17, 1894. After decades of criminal activity, H. Holmes was behind bars. While he was in jail, connections between him and at least one murder were revealed, and a pile of financial charges were obscured by the more sinister accusations that emerged. However, when all was said and done, Holmes was officially linked to 9 murders in total. However larger than life as they may seem, some mysteries that shroud Holmes are still questionable. Did the serial killer H. Holmes really build a murder castle? Asked the History Channel. Holmes allegedly killed as many as 200 people by luring them during the Chicago's World Fair. But historians say many of the stories about him, the devil, may be a myth. There's a total of about 9 people that we can say with some confidence that he probably killed, said Adam Selzer, the author of H. Holmes, The True History of the White City Devil. He confessed to 21 at one point, but several of them are still alive at that time. There's also no evidence that Holmes trapped strangers inside his hotel in an attempt to kill them. The 9 people he likely killed were all people he already knew, and the building he owned wasn't a hotel. The first floor consists of storefronts. The second floor had apartments with a long-term rental. When he added a 3rd floor to his building in 1892, he told people it was going to be a hotel space. But it was never finished or furnished to open to the public, investigator Selzer says. The whole idea was just a vehicle to swindle suppliers and investors and insurers. Holmes was involved in a variety of fraud schemes, and it was actually his involvement in a horse swindle in Texas that led police to arrest him in Boston in 1894. Investigators soon began to suspect him of murdering his scammer associate, Benjamin Pitzel, in an insurance scheme, then murdering 3 of Pitzel's children, who were roughly 7 to 14 years old, in an attempt to cover it up. Without any evidence, newspapers claimed Holmes used his building chute to transport bodies to the basement In fact, that he had a chute was not unusual, since many buildings had laundry chutes connected to the basement.
These stories turned Holmes' building into an elaborate torture dungeon outfitted with gas pipes to asphyxiate victims and soundproof rooms to hide their screams. Holmes received the death sentence in 1896 and died by hanging in Philadelphia about a week before his 35th birthday. Phew, what a wave of relief comes to me as I utter the last sentence. Yes, the death sentence of one of the most innovative murderers. Holmes drives home the truth that the diabolic side of the human mind is the most dangerous of all. If you like the content of this video, do like and subscribe to my channel Meet Meenamma. Don't forget to click the bell icon for regular updates. Also do comment and interact with Meenamma. I would love your opinions. Meenamma looks forward to meeting you again in the next video and episode. Till then, ladies and gentlemen, have a great life and make a difference.